Good afternoon. I'm Elina Pasanga and I work as an intern at St. John's Medical College. I was asked by my friend to address a few of the issues about the global pandemic which is affecting all of us right now. I would like to classify my small talk into three parts. The first part about busting common myths with respect to COVID-19. The second part about current diagnosis and management of COVID-19. And the third part about simple things which you and I can do to prevent us from getting the disease, or if we get the disease, to prevent us from going into complications. Firstly, busting common myths with respect to COVID-19. One of the most commonest things I've seen in our new age WhatsApp MBBS is vitamin C can cure COVID-19. No, vitamin C cannot cure COVID-19. It does, however, help boost immunity, and both hospital trials as well as at home, people have tried consuming both vitamin C tablets as well as vitamin C rich foods to boost one's immunity and reduce the chances of getting COVID-19. However, it does not in any way affect overall prognosis and cure COVID-19. Secondly, eating garlic cures COVID-19. Again, another myth which has been playing the rounds on phones and WhatsApp, which I'm not sure where the origin starts from. Third thing, only one person needs to be wearing a mask. That prevents spread of infection. Time and again, both medical professionals and not have been repeatedly telling the public that the person themselves needs to wear a mask as well as the person they're communicating with. This reduces transmission by 95 to 97%. Lastly, everyone seems to be in much await for this so-called vaccine on August 15th. May I remind you that a vaccine only helps to prevent the development of the disease. So in the event that the cases do fall down and we reach a plateau as such, then a vaccine will help to prevent a second wave. But in the current scenario with increasing cases day by day, a vaccine does not in any way help to immediately manage or curb the disease. So the best way is to keep yourself from getting the illness instead of waiting for a vaccine which may or may not come in the near future. The second part of my talk is about current diagnosis and management of COVID-19. Currently, COVID-19 is suspected when the patient has a history of travel or history of close contact with a positive person, either a health professional or otherwise, who is not wearing adequate PPE. What is adequate personal protective equipment? Current guidelines have defined it as a person wearing a mask, a visor, which is a face shield, and gloves. If the person is wearing all this, they are not defined as a close contact. So a person with close contact, a person with travel history, a person with symptoms of fever more than 100.4 plus any one of the following influenza-like illness symptoms or ILI symptoms, which include cough, breathlessness, cold. Persons with these are those who are among which COVID-19 is suspected. Does this mean other people don't have COVID-19? Absolutely not. At the hospital, we have found many people with symptoms of urinary infection, diarrhea, even random swabs for pregnant women turning out to be COVID positive. Does this mean we all panic? No. COVID-19 requires admission only in certain cases and swabbing also only in certain cases. When is swabbing required? Swabbing is required in the presence of when we've had history of close contact, when we are symptomatic, and patient who is coming from so-called containment zone, which is also being slowly phased out because of the increased number of cases in different parts of the city. So currently, if you feel like you have symptoms of fever plus any of the influenza-like symptoms which I mentioned earlier, then you might require swabbing. Also, if you have history of travel to high-risk states. But do you require hospitalization? No. Hospitalization is required for one, healthcare professionals. They require isolation so as to prevent transmission of disease. 2. If you are elderly, having comorbidities like hypertension, diabetes, immunocompromised patients, transplant patients, stroke patients, such patients will require hospitalization. Or patients with symptoms of SARS or severe acute respiratory syndrome. What are these symptoms? Severe acute respiratory symptoms include fever and cough and breathlessness and a saturation of less than 90%. What is saturation? Saturation is a measure of your oxygen binding capacity of the blood. So in COVID-19, as many of you all might know, the saturation drops. So if you have symptoms of fever and cough and breathlessness and a saturation of less than 90%, you will require hospitalization. To recapitulate, hospitalization is required for healthcare professionals because of risk of spreading infection. Hospitalization is required for those with comorbidities such as elderly, diabetic, hypertension, immunosuppressed patients, patients who've had any transplant. Hospitalization is required for patients with severe acute respiratory syndrome like symptoms, which include fever and cough and breathlessness and saturation of less than 90%. What is the current guidelines for treatment? Again, a lot of people have been reading up on various drugs and prophylactically taking a lot of medication. Let me remind you, a lot of these medications come with a variety of side effects. In a hospital setting, these side effects can be monitored by trained professionals on a daily basis. At a home setting, often these side effects go unnoticed, causing more problems than they are of use. Even in a non-serious setting, that is in a non-ICU setting, patients are usually not given drugs such as remdesivir or favipiravir, which is your current Fabiflu as it known. Yet, many people I have known are taking these drugs in the hope that it might prevent an infection. This data is not available on any prevention of infection. So kindly refrain from taking drugs unless you have been advised by a medical professional. Currently, people are being managed by oxygen supplementation, preventing clot formation, which has been known to occur with these inflammatory conditions like COVID-19, and antivirals in certain situations. What can you and I do? I know most of the information till now may be a little irrelevant for people sitting at home wondering what can we do from a home perspective to prevent infection. First and foremost, it is no joke when they say social distancing. I think the more apt term should be physical distancing. Maintain distance from anyone and everyone, not just people whom you think are sick. Refrain from going to the grocery shop, spending a lot of time, refrain from shopping, refrain from going out, refrain from large gatherings. This has been repeatedly told to us before, and now since WHO announced that there is airborne transmission, there is increased chance of getting infection when there are more people in the same room. So one is physical distancing or social distancing. Two, as part of the same above, social distancing includes wearing a mask. It includes wearing gloves where you can, sanitizing and washing one's hands. Remember, sanitizer is an important resource which a lot of medical professionals do require. At home, however, with the availability of soap and water, it is an easier and more cheaper alternative. So kindly use soap and water wherever possible. Thirdly, older people, people who feel like they have diabetes or hypertension, but are not having any other symptoms such as cough or fever or any of the severe acute respiratory symptoms like I mentioned, if you can afford it, please buy a saturation pulse oximeter and measure your saturation. If saturation is coming less than 95%, then kindly seek medical advice. These are some of the key points I feel are important for you and I in this time of uncertainty and panic. It's not going away very soon. It's going to be there for some more time. So it's important for us to follow these instructions and follow these precautions for as long as possible. Thank you.